And what is the variable? Remember, you can type it out. I put in value. You could have named it whatever. First result column goes in column B. Anybody see the standard deviation there?
No.
You sure about that?
I don't see it. It's 5.
No one sees a symbol for standard deviation?
It's 5.
There it is.
What's the symbol for standard deviation? It's 5.
Yo, what's the symbol that's up there for standard deviation?
The S with the line.
The S.
The S.
S is standard deviation. S as in soda or sloppy or soup. Okay? S is standard deviation. What is X bar?
Mean.
That's the mean. So notice the mean or the average of those 5 data points or 6 data points is 5, but what's the standard deviation?
2.19089.
You can do 2.19, 2.2, regardless. Look at the answer choices. What's the answer gotta be? 2.19. You had a calculator that you could have used and earned pretty good credit. Okay, I'm going to show you the work I had in a second, but I want to point this out. Number 12. Most of us did not realize what this question was asking, so I definitely need to go over this. How do you determine, first off, which of those options are measures of spread?
I have no idea.
Oh, the interquartile range.
Interquartile range is a measure of spread, and standard deviation is a measure of spread. Okay, Joey, instead of just saying I didn't know what it was, learn from this and write down. Remember, mean and median are measures of what? Those are measures of center. So we should have immediately marked those out. Heck, if you had made the note, hey, Mr. Kinney, those are measures of center, would that have given me evidence that you understand something about center and spread?
Yes, sir.
Show me what you know, guys. We should have marked those out because those are measures of center. But I look at IQR and standard deviation, and most of us did not realize this detail. What allows us to figure out whether we use IQR or standard deviation?
Calculator.
Not just a calculator. I think I heard someone say it. It's something we talked about yesterday. Okay, what can we see in a box plot if the data is skewed? To figure out if you're going to use IQR or standard deviation, you need to check to see if the data is skewed. We use IQR with median if data is skewed. And we're going to use standard deviation when the data is, if data is what? No. IQR is when data is skewed. If data is roughly symmetrical. Okay. So if you had checked a graph, either made what are some quick graphs you could have made for that data? Box and whisker plot, what else? A dot plot would have been quick. But on a calculator, you could have made either one of them. Remember, you would create your data in the list and spreadsheets and then go to data and statistics to make a graph. Sir?
Well, you can make a dot plot on a calculator?
Yeah, dude.
I didn't know that.
Literally, if you graph the data, it first makes it a dot plot. And then you would have to change it to something else. So, here's what I did for it. Notice I created a quick dot plot because that's easy to do by hand. Is that roughly symmetrical? Yes. Come on. Keep it, whatever it is that's falling, please stop it from falling. All right. That data is roughly symmetrical, so I'm going to use standard deviation. Notice my work up here for standard deviation and down here. Some of us did a great job of starting these tables, but we need to be careful to show the value, the difference between the value and the mean, and then we need the value squared, and then we sum all those. And so if you do that correctly, that's what you would get.
One thing on this one is that you get since I'm not got it right.
Well, and that's why you only got a 1+ is my guess. Right, that's what that's telling you. I know you probably just guessed, because if you knew how to do it, you could explain it.
I'm also not good at explaining.
If you just say I'm not good at something, you'll never get better at it. We're working and growing to get better. Yes, Emily, you have a question?
Yeah,
Emily's asking a question, and if Emily's asking a question, it might be something you need to learn as well. What's up?
I don't know where I got, for where I did the square root, I did 45 over 5, I'm not sure like where I got.
Which one are you looking at? At this, at number 11?
Yeah.
Did you get these values, 911049?
I got everything except for, I guess I just messed up with the calculator.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I missed for the 4 one, so I guess it's this one.
I got you. And so that's something I would point out, guys. Those are good questions to ask. Hey, I didn't get blank. So trace back your errors. So I didn't get that 24. Okay, check what you got before that and before that. And so that's where you misread a 4 as a 9 or a 9 as a 4.
I honestly can't read what I put down, but there's something.
I'll try to look at it and see what else. Any questions about the rest through number 13 though? What are your questions through number 13?
Can you keep it right there for a second?
Can I what?
Can you keep that right there for a second?
Well, I'm asking y'all what questions you have. By the way, and I didn't put it yesterday because I was scoring understanding checks, but I will put these solutions on Schoology today so that you can copy notes from there. You just have to go onto Schoology and look. So if you look under Schoology for me, I have a current week's materials folder. Literally just look under today's folder. Right, so it says current week's materials. You go to the Tuesday folder, this stuff will be there. Okay? So it'll be there. Right, Jaden? Where's your test? Wesley, where's your test? That's how y'all learn examining your mistakes. Dude, that's the new test. We're looking at the old test. The one that everyone else has out, that's yellow, white, and purple. Okay. So, do we see how we can correct our mistakes? Because that's the bigger thing. Just copying it down once isn't going to help you if you don't know how to fix your mistakes. Anybody have a question about how to fix a mistake? Alright, moving on. So, here with number 14, ooh, y'all killed me on this one. You know what the most common graph I saw in number 14 was? Not a dot plot. I saw a whole lot of box and whisker plots. What does this question ask for? A dot plot. Y'all should have made it way easier. Okay? Now, for those of y'all who stressed out and noted, hey, the smallest number is 12, I think, but the largest number is 23 and it doesn't fit on the graph, could you have just gone by 2s? Right? Guys, please notice you don't have to go by 1s when graphing it. And so if you were one of the people who put a box plot, 1, there's a lot more work that you had to do. But 2, please note or circle where it says dot plot and remind yourself to read those details closely. Where's your test? And you don't have the yellow sheet because you never got to it, but here's a blank copy to take notes on. Okay. Please notice, did I justify how I got this graph? Yeah, justify your responses. There was a way to explain how I got the dot plot. I made sure that I labeled my or that axis. What?
See, that's what makes me upset. Because you're counting on points for something that's so obvious when there's not really a reason to say what a dot plot is.
First off, I don't count off anything.
Like,
Second off,
for reasoning.
hold on. The whole point of that rubric is so that if you make a mistake, I can still see your reasoning. And then on the higher ends, like here's something I need you to understand. Y'all don't see this side because the rubric has little to no evidence, the 0s and 1s, the limited evidence, which is your 2s, the clear evidence of understanding, which is your 3s, and the clear, consistent, and convincing evidence, which is your 4s. The 0s through 2s is a range of 0 to 4, no, -1 to 4 when I put a score in. The maximum is a 6. Those 3s and 4s are very tightly connected within their scores. So instead of pitching a fit about it, understand I'm looking out for you, and the point is, do you have evidence of your understanding?
I'm not trying to pitch a fit about it.
You are getting upset about it.
I'm just saying, like, if we don't explain what we were doing correctly,
Right.
you're gonna give us minus points.
I'm not going to give you anything. I'm giving you a score that shows you what level of evidence I see of your understanding. And if you get that dot plot wrong, I don't know how you got it wrong, and so you're automatically at a 0 minus.
So what if we get it right?
You're only at 1 plus because you're not explaining why.
We are just testing the speaker.
Okay.
Excuse this interruption, we are just testing the speaker. Thank you.
Okay. If you get a single detail wrong without justifying, you are automatically just wrong. I'm trying to give you a way to justify your answers so that you can show me how well you really understand it. And we actually did one just like this on an understanding check where I made this point that you can make this statement.
We gotta explain our answer in college. Like a lot more of our stuff.
One,
that we do.
it's much more difficult, and so yes, you need to practice understanding how to explain your reasoning now. Two, justifying your answers is teaching you how to think, and you're gonna have to think a lot in college. But I need y'all to understand, and I need you to hear me very clearly on this. This isn't just about my class, and it's not just about being prepared for college. You need to learn how to explain why you're thinking what you're thinking. And you say that it's very obvious, but it's not. That's the thing, y'all are so used to just skipping over the small details that we struggle when we get to more difficult things because we don't know how to look at the small details. I'm trying to train you and teach you how to think. That's why I'm asking you to do this. So, dot at each value, stacking when more than one of that value. It's a very simple thing. The fact of the matter is, what you should do is when you show me anything, you should say, why am I doing this? And if you can answer why you're doing this, that's what you're putting down. So, 5-number summary, IQR. What is the 5-number summary again?
Min, Q1.
Min, Q1, median,
Q3.
Q3 max. Remember, the calculator can give you those answers as well. I'm not going to do it for this set of data, but remember how we did one variable stats earlier? For that number 11? Does it give me min, Q1, median, Q3, and max?
Yeah.
You could have used your calculator to identify these different values to earn max credit. And I will say if you taught, oh yeah, I actually did say use list and spreadsheets and calc. That would only be a 3D or a 3D plus. If you want the 4s and 4 pluses, which literally is more than what I'm asking, it's just top, it's the very top, and that's something you also need to understand.
Teacher, excuse this interruption, just testing our speaker again. Please excuse the interruption, we are just testing the speaker again.
You do not need a 4 plus to score a 100 on my assessments. You don't. And that's something you have to understand. Like, this isn't a grade. The scoring rubric is how I figure out a grade, but the scoring rubric is literally your level of evidence of understanding. What evidence are you giving me of your understanding? And so a 4 plus means that you're knocking out of the park. That's not what you need to get 100. You should be aware of that. That's not what I'm looking for. A 4 plus means that you have absolutely blown it out of the water. 3 plus to 4 is really where I'm looking for to be a 100 for average. So you don't even have to score that on everything. That average would be a 100. So there are plenty of places for you to show me evidence of your understanding. I don't count anything against you. So here's the thing to keep in mind for the fences, the outliers.
Teachers, again, excuse this interruption, hopefully this will be the last test. Excuse this interruption, this should be the last test.
So here's how we determine outliers. We have to look at those fences, lower fence, upper fence. Remember, a lower fence, how do we calculate a lower fence? Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR. Upper fence,
I thought it was like,
sorry, hold on, I got side conversations when they're not focused up here. So Q3 plus what?
1.5.
Okay. Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. And those are the lower and upper fences, and you would want to do that for both of these data sets. Oh, I think I skipped over the detail about IQR earlier. But remember, how do we calculate IQR? Right? That's a range. Interquartile range is the range between the quartiles. So I subtract to find how far the quartiles are away from each other.
That's all IQR is range.
It's an interquartile range, so it's a range between the two quartiles. That's why it's Q3 minus Q1.
I thought if you were like getting the lower fence, you could divide it instead of multiplying.
Nope. If you're getting a lower fence, that's why you're subtracting. A lower fence is why we're subtracting. Okay, so I do want to point this out. If you look at this, do we have any values either below the lower fence or above the upper fence? Is there anything above? There's definitely nothing below -5. Is there anything above 11? No. Is there anything below -5.5? No. Is there anything above 14.5 for two-story? No. So are there any outliers? No, right? There are no values above or below the fences, so no outliers. That is the biggest thing that you would want to note there, is that there are no values above or below the fences, so no outliers. Yes, Nathan?
So what you're saying outlier is if it goes beyond 1, if it's below through 1.
Okay, let's look at this. Hold on. That means you crushed it. Right here, really quickly. Let's say that this was not a 9. Let's say that this was 17. If that wasn't a 9, if that was a 17, would I have an outlier? Yes. What would that number be? 17. You see how that number is above the upper fence? I mean, 14.5 is 17 above that.
Yes.
So it's above the upper fence. We have an upper fence, and we have something that is beyond it. So it is an outlier.
So it just stays in
So it's outside of that fence.
Do that app have like upper fence and lower fence and stuff on there? The app-
It has box plots, so yes, I'm pretty sure it has practice with that. All right. Notice, and again, this is where you could say, hey, it's obvious how I got the box plots. But I had some people that were very incorrect with their box plots. What detail did I add to my box plots to make it easy to tell how I got those values? So one, I labeled it, right? Range and two-story, but what else? You don't see anything up here that a bunch of us did not include?
Oh,
You
the
put in
Q-
the
it's
$5
the
the
column
plus
or something.
Didn't I note what the minimum was, what the Q1 was, median, Q3? It's a very simple thing, but like, tell me why you're making that the box plot. That's it. Tell me why. And I want you to think about it. Just having a box plot here versus having these descriptors here, what shows greater evidence of understanding?
you can put the label in.
Right? Y'all have to remember, I'm trying to see how well you understand it. Those are things that you want to consider is, hey, how can I show Mr. Kinney that I understand why this is the way it is? Show me evidence of your understanding. That's not to punish you, it's not to give you a lower grade, it's to make sure that you actually understand. And if I do, and that's more for the understanding checks than anything, but if that's the rubric I'm going to use on the understanding checks, it's also the rubric I'm going to use on your test. The more you practice with thinking and explaining, the better you're going to be. And I do want to point this out. I know it's frustrating for some of us, but there's legitimately not just one, but 10 or 15 of my students, I would say in Algebra 2, who start out very frustrated over the active class or the rubric like this as well. But when they started to get into it and practicing, one, the math started to make more sense. Because if you come into my test knowing you have to explain why, you're going to study the why. If you study the why behind the math, it all becomes much easier. So be aware of that. Jordan.
Ken, how many questions will be on the test?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's going to be a combination of these two tests with new numbers, maybe slightly different context, things like that. So, but it's going to be very similar to these two tests, but shorter than this first one, because this first one took long. Okay. So let's look now at this test, the one I just passed back, the scatter plot test. This one's going to be shorter, and we're going to have to move quicker because we only got about 15 minutes to answer questions. A lot of this is multiple choice. A lot of your 9 weeks test from this set of data or this information will be multiple choice as well. What was number 1 asking you to do? To make a what?
Equation.
What is the question? What are you trying to do here? Yes, it gives you information about linear regression. We had to predict the number of balloons. What do we use for a prediction?
Linear regression.
The linear regression, right? The least squares regression line. How am I going to use that? By substituting the x with what number?
8.
8. Remember, x represents the weak number. We're looking at week 8. All you had to do is substitute 8 in for x. If I were you and you didn't get that or didn't show me that, I would write that note down. Substitute 8 in for x. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know what.
What did it say?
But you had circled my negative.
Did you use the negative? What did it say? What's the abbreviation?
AEG.
AEG?
EQ.
Oh, that's an NEG.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a really quick N. But, yeah, I saw a lot of us that forgot this negative right here, and it threw our answer off.
I don't know, but I'm pretty eager.
So be careful, but make a note of where your mistake is so that you don't make that mistake moving forward. Number 2. What do we need to do for number 2? But how are you going to get the linear regression for this? You needed to make a graph, right? What type of graph? Well, we're going to put the data in list and spreadsheets, then we're going to make a graph on data and statistics. But what are we going to do from there? We need to do a linear regression. Not a dot plot, a scatter plot, right? Remember, these are called scatter plots. I'm going to look at this problem in a second. Come on, Lillian. Don't put your head down. We got stuff we can learn here and improve. All right. So I'm going to talk about number 3 in a second. But I do want you to notice, here is exactly what I did for numbers 1. I'm going to, nothing like getting an expo marker all over your pants, right? Alright. Get those notes down if you need to. I'm going to get the calculator set up. Y'all, that was not an invitation for you to start talking. That was an invitation for you to get to work. Sir.
Who grabs me? I'm scared. I know.
If I have hand sanitizer, it'll be on the student center.
Please, I love my family. I want to go home and see them.
Okay. It sounds like everyone's done taking their notes for that. Ready to move on?
I'm not.
Who's not?
You got that problem.
Okay. The biggest thing is, again, if you make the notes substitute 8 in for x for weeks, you're good to go. I'm about to do number 2 with y'all, and then we'll talk about number 3 in a second. Here's what we need to pay attention to. Once you have your data in lists and spreadsheets, what are we going to do?
Menu,
What? Not menu, because remember, menu is just going to give me operations. Control, doc, add a page. What page do I need? Remember, data and statistics is where I can graph. What was the independent variable?
which one's in
Year.
variables?
Salary or Y.
Year was independent, salary was
Y axis.
the Y or dependent. Now what do we do from here?
Regression line.
Okay, I need a least squares regression line. Where am I going to go for that least squares? Menu, analyze,
Regression.
regression,
And
show linear. I don't know why I did
I
that.
don't think I'm correct, there's a letter in there.
Hold on one second. Say again.
I don't think there's supposed to be a letter in there.
Well, it's called scientific notation. I'll make sure the calculators are in the right notation. There we go. That's it. And by the way, guys, if I hadn't corrected the calculators to have the right notation in there, why are you packing? We got 5 minutes to learn. Yeah, 5 minutes. You need this 5 minutes to learn. So, listen guys. Look, if you had seen, what? That was not what I wanted. If you had seen that 1.75E3, let me know that that's what it's doing, and I'll fix the calculators all at once to have the right notation, okay? So that you can see the number. So I hope that that's not what freaked any of us out, but that was it. 1750x plus 40,500, and then tell me how and why you did that. Now, what I do want to point out from here is most of us did not pay attention to what number 3 was asking. What was number 3 asking for? The residual. How do we calculate a residual? It's right there. If you didn't know what a residual was, you need to write this down now. It's the value minus the predicted value.
What is actual value?
Okay, I'm trying to teach you. Step up. Maddie, what's up? Okay. The residual is the actual value minus the predicted value. They gave you the actual value of what?
3 x equals 3.
No, at x equals 3, the value is
0.9.
0.9. The actual value is 0.9. But I need the what as well?
Some outside.
I'm aware.
What do you mean, stop
I don't think we're
outside?
still doing that. Are we still doing that? I didn't think so. You're not.
Yeah.
Okay,
What do you mean?
excuse me. I'm still teaching. Predicted. How do we calculate the predicted value? Using what?
I have no idea.
The least squares regression line. Just like with number 1, we use the least squares regression line to make a prediction.
I think I know how to do that.
Well, all you do, bud, is you substitute your x value in. So you could write down that note to substitute x in to make a prediction. So, the actual value was given of 0.9, the predicted was 0.7, and so what's the residual? 0.2. Miss White, am I supposed to still? Okay. I didn't think I was anymore. Alright, residual is 0.2. What are your questions about how to calculate? Are you serious? I already asked you once not to pack up, and so you still packed up?
No.
It's not.
Okay. So really quickly, I'm going to point this out with number 4. Listen up. I know, and again, This is why I have you justify your answers. I saw where a lot of us made a mistake on number 4 through justifying our answers here. Please notice, this is just time and hours. You don't need to convert this to 0, 1, 2, and 3. You should have just used those hours. If you got the least squares regression line from the calculator, you should have gotten
Good
this
afternoon,
equation,
class.
and we're going to use that for x.
All students will test on Wednesday, October 5th, which is tomorrow. Mrs. Linda emailed all
Yes, ma'am.
students their testing room. Do not wait until tomorrow to find out where you should test. If you want to check out after testing, you
What?
must bring your backup notes. Students can also bring calculators.
But
Students
did you,
not have to participate on Wednesday.
yes, ma'am. Say again. Excuse me! No! Sit back down! Me talking to a student is not a free-for-all for you. You must be outside your mind.
Madeline. Students can pick up another form in the office.
I need to point this out.
September 15th.
A question like this is guaranteed to be on your exam. A question where you have to get the least squares regression line will be on your exam. Questions like this where you have to make predictions by hand on your own will be on the exam.
Tonight at 5 p.m.
You will also have to write the equation of the line. These solutions will be on Schoology.
After school today.
Questions like this will be on your exam.
Attention seniors.
You need to be aware of that.
Copy of the class panoramic pictures.
These solutions will be on Schoology.
The bill your order envelope by this Saturday. Don't miss
Oh,
out.
your answer was
This will be
wrong,
your
right?
only chance to order. Be sure
It
to
was
give your
it's
order form.
463.
Extra order forms are available in the hall. Have a terrific Tuesday and go fast.
Hey, bro, chill out.
What else, William?
Okay? Let me know again in the future if still be any trouble, but don't do it right now. Yes, Aiden. Huh? Yeah. Yep. Thank you, Joey.